Then in the next one, Halloween 3 Season of the Witch, is when they actually went into the real history of Halloween, which is what we're reading right now. What really took place on All Hallows Eve is another name that is called All Hallows Eve or Halloween. Read.
Historian Nicholas Rogers, exploring the origins of Halloween, notes that while some folklorists have detected its origins in the Roman feast of Pomona, the goddess of fruits and seeds, or in the festival of the dead called Parentalia. It is more typically linked to the Celtic festival of Samhain,
which I said again, going back to Samhain, or they pronounce it Samhain, you know.
Right. Which is derived from Old Irish and means roughly summer's end.
Basically, that's what it means, summer's end.
Right, I got you.
And then read here, the highlighted areas.
Right. The festival of Samhain celebrates the end of the lighter half of the year and beginning of the darker half, and is sometimes regarded as the Celtic New Year.
So that's why right now they put that out and said, remember tonight to put your clocks back an hour. Because now it's not daylight savings times no more. Now we're into the, basically it's celebration of Samhain. Because right now when you go home tonight at midnight, all your cable boxes, the hours is going to jump back an hour. So now you supposedly, you get an extra hour of sleep. You know, they're announcing it all on. It's on the calendar too. You know, it's you have to put the clock back an hour now because daylight savings time I think takes place in what, May? I think in May you put the clocks up an hour, but now it's being put back an hour. Read that again.
The festival of Samhain celebrates the end of the lighter half of the year and the beginning of the darker half, and is sometimes regarded as the Celtic New Year. The celebration has some elements of a festival of the dead.
Right, the elements of the festival of the dead, which is basically what it is. People are dressing up like what? They're dressing up like ghouls, zombies. They're dressing up like all kind of manner of shit that would be coming out the fucking graveyard, like in a Thriller video.
Yep.
You know, Michael Jackson. You know that's like the biggest fucking Halloween song right now, especially since he's dead. Everybody's fucking playing that. Every party you go to, they're gonna be playing that shit. Yep. Right, read on.
The ancient Celts believed that the border between this world and the other world became thin on Samhain.
Right, which is where we're at right now on Samhain. Samhain, the veil that separates the spiritual world from the physical world, they believe becomes very thin, and then what? Those the spirits, the demons are able to come through and run wild on the night of Samhain. That's what the Celtic celebration is all about. So now this is going to explain a little history of how why people wear them costumes and all that. Now we're going to read into that a little bit. But read that again and then read down.
All right. Since the ancient Celts believed that the border between this world and the other world became thin on Samhain, allowing spirits, both harmless and harmful, to pass through.
Right. They saying allowing the spirits, so the so-called the good spirits and the bad spirits, to pass through. Read on.
The family's ancestors were honored and invited home, while harmful spirits were warded off.
Right, now look at this. While harmful spirits were warded off, you know what that goes into? That's going into conjuring of spirits and necromancy. Hold right there. Now read that in Deuteronomy. This is 18 and 9.
This is Deuteronomy chapter 18, starting from the 9th verse. When thou art come into the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee, thou shalt not learn to do after the abominations of those nations.
Right. The Lord told us the land that we come into, we're not supposed to do after the abominations of the nations that are in that land. Read on.
There shall not be found among you anyone that maketh his son or his daughter to pass through the fire, or that useth divination.
Which that's what this whole thing with Halloween is all spearheaded around. We got another umbrella here. Open that umbrella up, like up over the brother reading. It's basically dealing with what? It's dealing with divination. Bring the other one up over here, up over this brother's reading. It's dealing with what? It's dealing with divination. So that's what the scripture is speaking of here. This is totally against the scriptures, this whole Halloween bullshit. We're going to elaborate more on it. Read on.
Or an observer of times.
Or an observer of times, which is a person, you know, that they tell you your future. They let me read your palm. Let me read the lines. This line means this line, that bullshit. Yeah. Read.
Or an enchanter.
Or an enchanter, or placing an enchanter, or or what they call, that's like necromancy, which is, there's an example of that in the scriptures with King Saul, where he went to inquire with the witch at Endor. The witch at Endor, he went to inquire of her about Samuel the prophet, because Saul, basically the Lord chose David over Saul. So now the spirit of the Lord left Saul, and then the evil spirit from the Lord troubled Saul, and then Saul went to try to conjure up Samuel, because Samuel did anoint him to be king of Israel, and he tried to speak to Samuel, and then, you know, Samuel cursed him out. We might get into reading that a little later on. Read on.
Or a witch, or a charmer, or a consulter with familiar spirits.
Or a consulter with familiar spirits. What is this? They're talking about, the people read that the family's ancestors,
Right.
what?
The family's ancestors were honored and invited home while harmful spirits were warded off.
Right. The family's ancestors were invited home, while the so-called bad spirits were warded off. That's nothing more than witchcraft, necromancy, conjuring up spirits. An example of that was in the movie Ghost with Patrick Swayze and Whoopi Goldberg. When they went to her, she was the medium, and then all the spirits of the people's families were coming there to speak to her, so they could speak to the man who was dead, could speak to his wife and this and that. Then she would let them the demons take possession of her, so that actual spirit could talk to that person. That's basically Halloween, man. Read that again. The family's
All right.
what?
The family's ancestors were honored and invited home while harmful spirits were warded off.
Right, now read on over there.
Or a consulter with familiar spirits, or a wizard, or a necromancer.
Right, or a necromancer, which is dealing with conjuring up those spirits. When they have a seance and everybody holds hands in a circle or whatever, and then what do? They conjure up a spirit. Everybody gets in and they start chanting to conjure that spirit up.
Right.
That's basically what Halloween is all about. And it's a celebrated national holiday. It's a freaking national holiday. It's not a day when people have the day off from work.
Right.
But people go to work dressed up as ghouls and zombies, and they have a Halloween party, and, you know, and it's all kind of madness going on.
That's where they get that Ouija board thing.
Yeah, the Ouija board. The Ouija board is a big part of them, of necromancy, conjuring up spirits.
Yep.
The Ouija board. Is there more on that, or that's it?
Yeah, that's pretty much.
Yeah. You see, you read to about the 14th verse?
Yeah, I'm on 12 right now.
Read through 12.
All right. For all that do these things are an abomination unto the Lord.
The Lord said, for all that do these things, the things that we're reading about even here, what did the Lord say? For all that do these things are what? An abomination.
Yeah.
Read.
And because of these abominations, the Lord thy God does drive them out from before thee. Thou shalt be perfect. That's supposed to be perfect.
Let me see. Because you got, perfect. It's
All
thou
right.
shall be perfect.
Thou shalt be perfect with the Lord thy God. For these nations which thou shalt possess, heard unto observers of times.
Hearken, meaning listen. Hearken.
Hearken unto observers of times, and unto diviners. But as for thee, the Lord thy God has not suffered thee so to do.
Right, so the Lord didn't suffer us for us to have these fucking holidays. So that's the whole point of me bringing out the history of Halloween. We're going to read more into it because there's a lot more into it. Now read it again from the family.
All right,
so now we read in the scriptures here what the Lord said against this shit. Now we're going to read and just elaborate more on what the scripture is talking about. This whole day sums it up. And get Exodus. Give me Exodus 22 and 18. And go ahead, you can read that.
The family's ancestors were honored and invited home while harmful spirits were warded off.
Now, it's going to tell you how the harmful spirits were warded off.
It is believed that the need to ward off harmful spirits led to the wearing of costumes and masks.
So there you go with the costumes and the masks. So really, according to the Celts, which basically they're the ones that celebrate this shit and it's spread throughout the world, this is the reason why people wear costumes and wear those masks. Because it's to what? It's to ward off the harmful spirits. So basically you dress as a demon or a ghoul so you don't get fucked up by a demon or a ghoul.
Right.
That's basically what it is. Read.
Their purpose was to disguise oneself as a harmful spirit and thus avoid harm. In Scotland, the spirits were impersonated by young men dressed in white with masked, veiled, or blackened faces. Samhain was also a time to take stock of food supplies and slaughter livestock for winter stores. Bonfires played a large part in the festivities. All